All right, coming up, we're going to answer the question, what do the President of the United States, a federal district judge who is 76 years old, Deion Sanders, and UT Athletic Director Chris Del Conte have in common? I'll tell you here in a second. Also, bottom of the hour, horns at half past. We'll hear from Steve Sarkisian, and he was on the SEC media teleconference yesterday, and pretty interesting answers to some questions, which we'll get to, that I think lead to newsy conversations about Texas and Ohio State in 2 days now. And yes, we have Texas at number 2 in our Game Time Top 20 countdown. That's why last hour we talked to Fozzie Whitaker, who wore number 2 as a senior at Texas. We'll have other great guests throughout the course of the morning to preview the Longhorns. Noah Kreitz, how are you?
All right, how you doing?
Doing good.
Yes,
doing
sir.
good. How's traffic rolling in
Traffic's
here?
fine. Yeah, traffic's fine.
Okay. You ready for college football tonight?
I'm beyond ready for college football. I already got a parlay cooked up. Come on, E. The Degenerate Gambler Starter Kit has begun.
The Degenerate Gambler Starter Kit, and I'm going to watch you closely. I've seen some guys who start your way and end up degenerate gamblers. It happens.
Yeah.
Take it easy. Don't start chasing.
$10 though it's a fair start.
What's your parlay?
It would be all money line. I'm trying to stay away from the spreads this year as much as I can. Taking Boise State money line out there in Tampa. Taking Nebraska money line out there in, I believe, Kansas City is where they're playing Cincinnati. And there's one other one. I got to think about what it is.
Sounds like a favorite. Sounds like a favorite to me.
It's another favorite. Yeah, it's plus 200 for a 3-leg parlay. So,
well, you know what the bookmakers like? Parlays, and favorites.
Do we like the Kansas City Bowl, Cincinnati, Travis Kelce?
No.
And then
Will he be there?
I don't know, man. They're probably
With his new
having engagement parties
bride-to-be
with celebrities. And then
He's
Nebraska.
got a off week off. The football NFL doesn't start till next week. He might be there for his alma mater.
Nebraska has the quarterback who's doing everything in his power to look like Patrick Mahomes and then be like, I don't see why people are making comparisons.
Dylan Raiola, yeah. All right, so that's tonight.
it's Wyoming. I got Wyoming beating the Zips in
Of Akron?
your hometown.
Everybody beats Akron.
There you
Good
go.
Lord. I mean, God, Lee. I mean, what are we doing here? I like that. Okay, well, the 3 favorites. We'll see. We'll grade you tomorrow. We'll also tomorrow on the show make our picks to click, and that'll start with the college football picks of a great first weekend. And look, as college football takes the center stage, and rightfully so, hopefully this is a new thing for the Labor Day weekend.
Yes,
where we just have these huge games, huge matchups. We've been in advocacy of moving the 0 week into week 1, and this becomes week 2, and just own Labor Day weekend. In a big way, with 1 versus 2 matchups, or 1 versus 3 top teners, games all weekend. Love it. Yeah, and you'll be the conversation into next week ahead of the NFL. I love that they're doing that. So the question is, in this day and age of college football, who is in charge? We know in the NFL, as college football becomes more like the NFL and professionalized, we know the 32 owners run the league, and there's this Players Association, and there's Roger Goodell, and we know, and then there's the TV partners and the media partners that kind of run the league. But really, the NFL level, the owners run the NFL, the 32 billionaires, who they then hire Roger Goodell, who's their face, and then the players have a players owner, but they don't have association, but they don't do a lot. Ask Micah Parsons currently.
Ooh.
But in college football, it's more that the tail kind of wags the dog. In a lot of levels, there really isn't a strong leadership core and base. So USA
There's no
Today,
real face, yeah,
the USA Today this week ranked the most powerful people in college football.
Okay,
and college athletics, really, but it's college football. Who are the most powerful people? And that's why I said, what do the president, the federal district judge, and Deion Sanders have in common?
Fair question.
They're all among it. So here's what USA Today said. Chris Del Conte, the Longhorn athletic director, is one of 2 athletic directors ranked in the top 20 of most powerful people in college football. And they say this about him. He's number 17. Notre Dame's Pete Bavak was number 7 on the list, number 8. Those are the 2 ADs. And he says CDC oversees the department that has generated the most total operating revenue in its fiscal year 2024 at $331.9 million. $325 million in operating expenses. He helped spearhead Texas going to the SEC when it started league play in 2024. That move set off a roundtable of conference realignment. But he talks about the success. They talk about the success and the directors' cups and what they've done with Steve Sarkisian. So powerful power broker in a power conference. CDC is the only only AD in the SEC that made the top 20 of this USA Today most powerful people in college football list. Number 1 on the list, you could probably guess it. Most powerful person in college football is Greg Sanky, the commissioner of the Southeastern Conference. He blends the credibility of 40 years working in college athletics as an administrator and rising through it, but also the respect he's amassed from guiding college football through the pandemic season and ushering the SEC into where it is. He he is the leader of one of the two super conferences with the powerful brand. So Greg Sanky wields a huge stick in college football. But number 2 on the list, and this is where the tail wags the dog more than the NFL, and I don't disagree with this at all. Number 2 on the list is Burke Magnus, the president of ESPN.
Yeah, makes sense.
And why is that? Why would the TV head, Disney, ESPN be number 2? Well, content. He oversees the live content, studio shows, and journalism for a company that's paying billions to league partners for the rights to televise the games.
And a company that only one that broadcasts the playoffs, too.
Yeah, and the college football playoff and all those postseason bowls they carry.
Sure.
So flat out, ESPN, whether you like it or not, and I know a lot of people you don't, they control much of what you see and learn about the game of college football.
Yeah.
The games, the
It's their
content.
lane. Yeah.
That. And so what Burke Magnus, who do you think has pushed this realignment and built the super conferences? Who's provided the money for it? That's ESPN. And number 3 on the list is Tony Petitti, the Big Ten commissioner. Right. He hasn't been around college football nearly as long, but he oversees the second most. Well, no, the richest conference in college football.
Sure. I was just saying from a
SEC is the most powerful, but the Big Ten is the richest.
Makes sense. Yeah.
You're talking about a conference in the Big Ten that now spans coast to coast and includes the top 3 media markets in the United States. But he's newer than Greg Sanky to college football. He was at the head of the Big Ten network before. But he and Greg Sanky are 2 tips of the same spear. And then Burke Magnus and then a guy named Mark Silverman of Fox Sports. They're the 2 tips of the same spear because Burke Magnus runs ESPN, Mark Silverman runs Fox. And that is they're in charge of the Big Ten, which is the most lucrative, college. That's why, Big Ten teams. By the way, there's talk this morning of the Big Ten expanding to 20 teams. 20 teams that do not include Notre Dame.
Yeah.
That Notre Dame is not coming off of their stance. They're actually, according to the Maryland athletic director this week, maybe targeting North Carolina. We've told you watch North Carolina because of the Charlotte market, and then Virginia for the Beltway market.
I'll sub them out for Maryland.
And Florida State somewhere going, damn.
Well,
we always tell you, don't worry about football on the field success. The Big Tens and conferences are looking for TV markets.
For sure.
And TV sets and population bases. Tallahassee, not big. Virginia and greater D.C. and the whole Beltway, big. A lot of people live there.
Yeah, because Maryland's not doing enough for the D.C. market. And that's what they were trying to get them for.
If they were to expand, they would go east. But just know that. But so obviously Tony Petitti and the TV partner is Mark Silverman. Number 5 on the list is interesting of most powerful people in college football, and it's somebody who's been on this show pretty recently. He is one of the top litigation and antitrust lawyers in the country. He is Steve Berman.
Yeah, Steve.
Along with his partner, Jeffrey Kessler, are the lead attorneys who helped dismantle the NCAA's amateurism model with the class action lawsuits, including the landmark case House versus the NCAA that was settled this summer. Because of their work, schools are now paying players for name, image, and likeness. They remain positioned to advance player rights beyond this, too. They're not done. If something needs to be addressed, they'll address it. So, Steve Berman, guest on this show a few times, so we appreciate him. Number 5 on the list, and I don't disagree with it. Number 6 was right behind there. They're also tips of the same spear. Claudia Wilken, the federal judge who approved the massive landmark, the almost $3 billion House settlement that has paved the way for the current era of college sports. And she's still over this case, which is a 10-year injunction, not really a settlement. It's a settlement for 10 years. But she also, Claudia Wilken, presided over the Ed O'Bannon versus the NCAA case, guys, where she rightly ruled that the ban on athletes being compensated for their NIL rights represented obvious legal market restraints. And that led to where we are today, which I know a lot of you hate, but it is the reality. And then there's number 7, which is Pete Bavacqua, the aforementioned Notre Dame athletics director, because we know, like the Big Ten and the SEC, Notre Dame remains one of the biggest brands in college football, and they're a standalone conference of one. Pete Bavacqua has as much say at the table as Greg Sanky, who represents 16 schools. Tony Petitti represents 18. Pete Bavacqua is the AD of 1. Yet they have the exact same seat at the table as those commissioners as well. So Pete Bavacqua, very powerful. A bit of a surprise at 8, but I tend to agree with it from USA Today here. The commissioner of the Big 12, Brett Yormark.
Sure.
And why does he make the list? Look, his aggressiveness and his outside-the-box style of leadership saved the Big 12.
Yeah, it did.
And it led to the ruining of the Pac-12. Like, if he hadn't come in and did what he did to replace Bob Bowlesby as Texas and Oklahoma were vacating, they are now the third conference, arguably. They have arguably passed the SEC or the ACC. Now, that's debatable, but boy, when this thing all began and Brett Yormark was hired, it was always thought that the Pac-12 would survive and the Big 12 would be gone. The Big 12 is still here, and it's actually thriving because of his aggressive style and the way he brings a business background to college football. He's actually saved the Big 12.
Well, you mentioned it, too. I mean, those are the two teams you said that possibly want to get to the Big 10, both in the ACC. I mean, that referring to Virginia and North Carolina.
That's right.
Yeah, he took opportunity, came from a basketball background. That conference is fantastic. In that sport specifically, we know where the money is. It's football. And you said,
and he's managing the college basketball to be a bigger brand too.
For sure,
understanding the basketball brand.
His team was in the national championship. Referring to Houston,
we covered him for 2 years before Texas left the conference, and he was a breath of fresh air. I know a lot of people his northeastern accent and attitude kind of rubbed some people the wrong way, but man, the inaction of Bob Bowlesby was replaced with action of Brett Yormark, and that's saved the Big 12. And now the Big 12 has potentially a power broker in Colorado. Deion Sanders is on this list as most powerful people in college football with his gravitas and his name and what he brings. And Colorado's not a big brand, but they are because Deion's there. Texas Tech wants to be a big brand.
They get the money out there.
With Cody Campbell, who's on this list too.
Cody Dillingham can make Arizona State a real threat in college football.
The greater Phoenix market has been brought in, and that's one of the fastest growing markets in the country. And now Kenny Dillingham. So, yeah, he's going to try to – he understands he's way behind when it comes to brand names in the Big 12, but you've got to grow the brands you have.
Yeah.
They're never going to be Texas or Ohio State, right? I mean, that's never going to happen, but you got to grow what you got. And I think so he also has college basketball at a high level. So I agree with that. Also, the NBC Sports president, Rick Cordella, is on this list for the same reasons as the other two. NBC Sports is back into college football, right? They oversee the Big Ten Saturday night package that's bringing regular season games back that don't involve Notre Dame for the first time for the Peacock since 1959.
Yeah, Michigan playing mighty New Mexico on NBC this weekend.
The debut of Bryce Underwood.
Hey.
Sorry. And number 10 on the list, how about this? You got to have an agent. It's a big business now. It's professional sports. The super agent Jimmy Sexton is number 10 on the list. You realize Jimmy Sexton represented Nick Saban, and he was stirring the drink trying to get Nick Saban to Texas at one point. But he also represents Kirby Smart, Steve Sarkisian, Kalen DeBoer, and many others. No agent or power broker has fueled the soaring coaches' salaries and these ridiculous long-term guarantees and buyouts that have hamstrung college athletics departments. That's Jimmy Sexton's doing.
There you go.
Number 11 on the list is Donald Trump.
DT.
The President of the United States, because he's involved the federal government now in his actions that could lead to more action, right? Of course, he pushed forward the executive order, which is really just a bunch of suggestions, and then he asked his cabinet to start moving in a direction. So he's obviously, and the President of the United States, the executive branch, having an impact on college football. So those are your top 11. CDC is number 17 on the list, one of only two ADs in the top 20. So safe to say Texas has a power broker at the helm. They're also in the conference with the number one most powerful person, and that's Greg Sanky on this list. We'll take your thoughts. 512-834-1027. There's your A block. That is it. The most powerful people in college. That's who's running college football. That's it right there. People ask, who is it? Well, you can also add underneath that House settlement, Claudia Wilkin, Steve Berman. There's now a new college sports commission that is overseeing the House settlement. It's got a leader, but you don't know who he is. So we'll see what kind of impact they can have on these NIL deals and policing the boosters and the pay for play. But right now, those are the 10 or 11 most powerful people in college football, and it just tells you just how scrambled it is.
Yeah,
there isn't a united front that's all for one and one for all. There's people that represent the players. There's people that represent TV networks. People represent conferences, which represent individual schools. There really isn't a core united person or people that run college football.
And I think it's going to take some time, too, before it really gets all settled down. We see all these contracts, whether it's media deals, whether it's just with the college football playoffs, whether it's even NCAA basketball deals with their tournament play. All these deals are going to get done around that 2030 time frame. So if there's going to be a change and if there's going to be realignment, if there's going to be teams added, it'll be around that time frame.
That's going to be the question. Yeah, to 2030 with the new deal. But
we'll see 16 teams before that.
I would just suggest, can the College Sports Commission, the newly formed this year, went into place in July 1st with the this House settlement, can that grow in power? Could you appoint a commissioner of that? And that really, to get rid of the NCAA will still run the basketball tournament and all the other tournaments and do what the NCAA doesn't do. But the College Sports Commission, along with Deloitte and the third-party NIL policing, that could become a more powerful entity if you put some teeth behind it and you put a real leader. You just insert your Roger Goodell here. There could be a commissioner of the College Sports Commission who the conference commissioners, the TV networks, they all answer to.
They need a face.
But they have to have a power. They have to be above Greg Sanky. They've got to be number one on this list,
Right.
for the long-term health of college football, in my opinion. And that's got to be a powerful person. People have mentioned Nick Saban. As a coach, going to take that role? I don't know. But either way, that you need that face because who elects Roger Goodell? The 32 owners who run college football. Or else, if there weren't a commissioner who had a hub, then there would be disparate like it is here. These people that we just went through, they need to decide who needs to be that person.
Right.
And you agree to make that person the top dog, that we answer to that person.
Yeah.
At that point, there'd still be influence coming from Greg Sanky and Tony Petitti and the TVs, but you'd have a singular person or group that is really in control of all of it. I don't know that that'll happen, but that would be my suggestion. And it's been formed. It's there, the CSC, College Sports Commission.